Good morning, everyone. I'm Mary Rogers. You're listening to the Mary in the Morning Show on 106.7 WSRT. Most of us are moms or most of us are daughters, but here we go. Young women today have infinitely more options than their mothers and grandmothers did. Should I become a doctor? Should I be a writer? Should I travel the world? Should I get married? Should I just live with my boyfriend? Do I want children? Maybe not. So all of us are wrestling with these decisions in our lives as women, and you would think the one person we could go to for help would be dear old mom. Well, guess what? Mom never had these choices, and maybe she just doesn't understand. It's not easy being a mom today. It's not easy being an adult daughter. And to the rescue, we have a new book called Making Up with Mom, which answers these important questions by focusing on the core issues of dating and marriage, career, and child rearing. We are going to be speaking in just a moment to one of the authors. This is co-written by Deborah Carr, a PhD at Rutgers University, and Julie Halpert, who is going to be on the phone with us in just a second. She's a freelance journalist with more than 2 decades of experience writing for national publications, including the New York Times, Newsweek, the Washington Post, Self, Family Fun, and Parents Magazine. She's going to be in Traverse City on August 18th at Horizon Books in Traverse City, and she will be doing a book signing and will be available to answer your questions from 5 to 7. I'm so pleased that we have Julie Halpert on the phone with us. She's calling from Ann Arbor, and let me introduce you to our listeners. Julie, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
So I love this book, Making Up with Mom, Why Mothers and Daughters Disagree About Kids, Careers, and Casseroles, and What to Do About It. So, Julie, I have to ask you right off the bat, your mom, what was your mom's life like in her 20s and 30s?
It was pretty much typical of women of her generation. She got married fairly young, early 20s. I think she was 24 years old when she had me, and then I have 2 siblings as well. She actually didn't work when we were young, but went back to teaching when I was about 6 or 7 years old. But she, she had a very traditional upbringing, very focused on home and family. We had a very close-knit neighborhood. Her mother actually lived far away, was not close by.
Right.
But it was a pretty, typical 1960s, 70s upbringing.
Right. So let's talk about the career issues and how mothers and daughters disagree about. We're so lucky now that women have so many choices of what they want to do. And I see it all the time. Women have great successes and they want to run to their mom and say, Mom, look what I did. Look what I've achieved. And they would never tell her the story because it's not going to be received well.
Right, and that's what's interesting about this is because there's a flip side to it. We have a lot of choices, but our lives are so different than those that our mothers led that our mothers often have a hard time relating to those choices. And the daughters often think, my mom can't understand my life or what I'm going through. So she often won't include her mother in a lot of these real great triumphs.
Right.
And that's a real problem. The mother will look at her daughter and see an exhausted, overstressed woman trying to balance a career with parenting and other responsibilities. And she often just doesn't get it.
Right. Well, what would you say she needs to get?
Well, she needs to get the fact that perhaps her daughter's life is going to be fundamentally different from hers, and the choices that her daughter makes and her priorities will be different. For example, one area that we find is often a battleground between mothers and daughters is this whole overall theme of appearances, how you look, how your house looks, how your children look. Women today who are balancing so many things, especially high-powered career with parenting, often decide to put those kinds of things on the back burner. Everything from cooking, they may opt for quick takeout food instead of slaving over a home-cooked meal, to the way their house looks, cleaning, what their kids decide to wear, time spent on their appearances. And sometimes their mothers, they feel like this sort of setting shows that things are in disarray, when in fact the daughter's just choosing to make different choices, things that work for her.
Right. And there's a classic situation where mom comes over to visit and the first thing she does is picks up a sponge.
Of course. Right. And I've presented that scenario and people have said to me, well, that sounds like a helpful mom. But what the daughter perceives in that move is my mom is judging me and telling me that my house is in such disarray that she needs to swoop in and help me out. And the daughter feels criticized and insecure about that.
Right. Well, that seems to be the cornerstone of so many of these situations, is that you're trying to say you're parenting in a certain way, and mom, sometimes all she has to do is raise one eyebrow at you, and it just destroys the daughter.
Exactly. And it's sometimes those unspoken devices like the raising of the eyebrow or that really get to the daughter more than anything that's spoken.
Well, what is that? Because, boy, I know I've been there. I know I have felt it, and it's like some anger. It's like a cocktail of anger and guilt.
Right, exactly. It is, because deep down the daughter has a lot of these choices, but because this is such new terrain, she's very insecure about these choices, and she wants to feel validated. She wants someone to say, good job, good for you, you're doing a great job. And, of course, she wants her mother, what greater validation than for your mother to say that. And at the same time, when the mother even just innocently questions something about that decision, it can really hit to the core of the daughter's emotions.
Sure. Let's do this. Let's take a break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about some of the differences in raising kids and disciplining them between these two generations and the tension that creates. We'll be back. We're speaking with Julie Halpert, co-author of Making Up with Mom. We'll be right back.